Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Local News Live here on Acadiana, AOC Community Media. Happy Wednesday. This is our Local News Live program. We do this each weekday at 9 a.m., reading local and state news from the Acadiana Advocate for our vision impaired audience, those who maybe have literacy issues or just don't have access to the long form news. We provide this as a service led by a wonderful group of volunteers. Our volunteer reader with us this morning, Daniel Rayburn. Thank you, Daniel, for joining us and reading for us today. How are you?
Oh, good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here again.
Great. Hey, I'm going to throw everything over to you and let you get started reading. And we'll be here listening on AOC Community Media and Cypress Street Radio.
Thank you. Hello and good morning, Acadiana. It's my pleasure to be here again with you today, bringing you the news. We've got quite a few headlines to get to, so let's just dive right in. Our first, St. Landry, Kangton, sue oil and gas companies. Contamination of aquifer alleged. This is written by Claire Taylor. The Saint Landry Parish government and the village of Kangton are suing more than 25 companies, including Chevron, ExxonMobil, and ConocoPhillips, over alleged groundwater contamination from a former 80-acre oil field waste disposal site about 15 miles from Lafayette. Lafayette attorney William Goodell, representing the parish and village, alleges the former Kangton Tank Farm / MAR Services oil field waste treatment and storage facility has and continues to contaminate groundwater around it and threatens to contaminate the Chico Aquifer, which provides drinking water to residents of 15 parishes, including Lafayette. Quote, the 80-acre site was used as a commercial exploration and production waste disposal site by more than 300 companies for disposal of sludge and other oil field waste products, the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources wrote in a December 4, 2003 article on its website. The article featured a ceremony marking the end of a 4-year cleanup at the site, lauded as one of the department's top accomplishments in 2003. Residents, including former state representative Clara Bowden, fought for nearly 10 years to have the facility shut down in the early 1990s. The site opened in the 1930s and shut down in the 1960s, only to reopen from 1980 to 1992. Goodell said in a news release, there hasn't been a comprehensive assessment of the groundwater contamination, which is a violation of state environmental laws. Groundwater testing at the site, the news release states, shows a, quote, toxic stew of hazardous substances. But state records show limited groundwater testing. The parish and village want a comprehensive evaluation and cleanup of the entire site and surrounding areas. Former Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality Security, Paul Template, in a report based on prior testimony and data from the public record, concluded groundwater beneath the site is contaminated with metals and chlorides. Groundwater off-site near the facility is contaminated with metals, including radium, and hydrocarbons, the release states including benzene. Before the cleanup that wrapped up in 2003, rusting oil storage tanks with salt water and sludge, along with pits containing stagnant oil and gas exploration and production waste, dotted the site. The Daily World newspaper at the time reported chemicals were used to neutralize pollutants. Dirt was added and mixed repeatedly for months. Over time, the process was supposed to neutralize the chemicals. According to the 2003 Department of Natural Resources article, ExxonMobil and Unocal created a third company, Margoni, to handle the cleanup. With assistance from the DNR's Office of Conservation, Margoni tracked down companies that used the facility, quote, offering each one an opportunity to cash out its shares of the $4.2 million needed for the cleanup. With its cash out, each company would be relieved from any future liability from the site. Our next headline. Acadiana leads state in third wave. Health officials urge virus precautions. The Acadiana region is leading the state in the third wave of coronavirus. Dr. Tina Stefanski, Regional Health Director for the State Department of Health, said Tuesday in a news conference with Lafayette Parish Mayor President Josh Guillory and other healthcare leaders. Stefanski said there are 223 COVID-19 patients in hospitals in Acadiana. She added that there have been 18 deaths in the region in the past week. Lafayette Parish has had a total of 12,538 coronavirus cases and 155 deaths since March. Stefanski reiterated her plea to residents to continue wearing masks, washing hands, and practicing social distancing during the holiday season. She also said with the COVID-19 vaccine on the way, there's an end in sight. However, she said that the vaccine likely will not be widely available until the spring. Guillory and Stefanski were joined at the briefing by Dr. Henry Kaufman, Chief Medical Officer for Our Lady of Lourdes Regional Medical Center, and Dr. Stephen Reese, Vice President of Medical Affairs for Ochsner Lafayette General, who spoke about how local hospital operations are faring. Our Lady of Lourdes has seen a tripling of COVID-19 patients in the past week, Kaufman said. He said Lourdes has 50 COVID-19 patients, which represent 30% of the hospital's bed capacity. He added that the hospital is seeing a large number of coronavirus patients each day. Kaufman said the intensive care unit remains full, as it usually does this time of year, adding that it is stable, but on the cusp of overflowing. So far, he said, hospital discharges are keeping up with hospital admissions. However, he said they expect an increase in hospitalizations in the next week or two from cases contracted over Thanksgiving. To maintain the hospital's capacity, Lourdes has moved to restrict some elective surgeries and will review on a daily basis which of those surgeries to allow and which to postpone to maintain bed space. The hospital is also limiting visitors. Kaufman said Lourdes has several facilities in Lafayette that can receive COVID-19 patients from the main campus if needed. Ochsner Lafayette General has also seen a significant rise of COVID-19 cases recently, but Reese said that they are prepared to steady out a little bit over the past few days. The hospital has 96 patients in its surge area and 20 in the ICU, with 5 deaths in the past 2 days. Reese said Ochsner also has several other medical facilities around Lafayette where COVID-19 patients can be shifted if the main campus gets overwhelmed. He said he and other healthcare leaders from Acadiana Ambulance, the LHC Group, and the Schumacher Group have been on regular calls to help coordinate the local response. Our next headline. Area real estate market surging. More people buying homes inside Lafayette Parish. This is written by Adam Daigle. The surging real estate market in Acadiana has renewed buyers' interest in homes in Lafayette Parish, data shows. The 472 homes sold in Acadiana in November outpaced last year's corresponding month for the 6th straight month, with sales in Lafayette Parish leading the way, according to data from Bill Bach of Market Scoop Consulting. There were 319 homes sold in Lafayette Parish in November, up from 251 sold a year ago. But the 153 sold outside the parish represent a slight decline from the 157 sold a year ago. So far, this year's sales are at 5,560 homes in Acadiana, up from 5,165 a year ago. In the outlying areas, sales this year are at 1,949, a drop from 2019 a year ago. It reverses a trend from recent years of rising sales in outlying parishes, where properties are priced significantly lower. In 2019, 39% of homes sold in Acadiana were outside Lafayette Parish, up from 36% in 2018 and 33.6% in 2014. Quote, "That means that the driving force of this year's record home sales pace has been Lafayette Parish's performance," Bach wrote. "Undoubtedly, we will end 2020 for the 3rd consecutive year, setting a new record for regional home sales." The dollar value of homes sold outside Lafayette Parish, however, has increased and indicates higher priced homes are selling more. Total dollar volume reached almost $30 million last month, putting the average sale price at $193,941, well above last year's total volume of $21 million and the average sale price of $132,882. Total sales volume in Lafayette Parish for the year topped 81 million last month, well ahead of last year's 57.9 million. The $22 million home sold in Lafayette Parish so far has already doubled last year's total with a month to go, data shows. New construction in Lafayette Parish also remains hot. There were 80 new homes sold in Lafayette Parish last month, nearly doubling the total from a year ago, and 858 sold so far this year, also well ahead of the 651 sold at this point last year. The number of available properties are down in outlying areas, but up 9.1% in Lafayette Parish, mostly due to the 80% rise in new construction listings, Bach noted. While we're in between headlines, due to COVID-19 and concerns for community spread, there's been a dramatic decrease in available shelter beds. Those beds will remain unavailable throughout the winter. That means many experiencing homelessness may have no option than to sleep on the street. Throughout this pandemic, Arch has been able to utilize local hotel and motel rooms as a temporary housing solution. From there, case managers help our fellow Acadians transition to permanent housing. We are very proud of our success in keeping those we serve safe from COVID-19 and on their way to long-term stability. However, the number of homeless is growing, and winter is here. We need your help to get our neighbors out of the cold and into warm, safe housing. Can you help today? Go to www.archacadiana.org. That's ARCHACADIANA.org. If you would prefer to give by check, please mail it to Arch, ARCH, at P.O. Box 3936, Lafayette, Louisiana, 70502. And as usual, Vitalant is still in urgent need for blood donations. Blood and pallet donations often drop during the holiday months as fewer donors are available because of seasonal activities and illnesses. But this year, the outlook is particularly worrisome. With many schools transitioned to virtual learning and businesses and work-from-home situations, about 1,600 Vitalant blood drives have already been canceled for November and December. Currently, there is an urgent need for O-negative blood, the universal blood type that all patients can receive. O-negative donors can maximize their impact by giving a Power Red donation. We encourage donors to make an appointment by visiting Vitalant.org or by calling 877-25-VITAL. That's 877-25-VITAL. And we're on to our next headline. Lafayette NAACP says football team violated virus protocols. School system denies allegations. The Lafayette Parish School System is trying to assuage community concerns after Lafayette's NAACP chapter claimed a district high school was lax on novel coronavirus protocols to benefit its football team. School district spokesperson Allison Dickerson issued a statement Friday evening denying the claim and said all COVID-19 protocols are prioritized to protect student and staff safety. Quote, the allegations have been investigated by school-level staff as well as district-level staff. In addition, LPSS has been in contact with the LHSAA and the Louisiana Department of Health to confirm that all contact tracing protocols have been followed, the statement said. The statement came in response to an email from Lafayette NAACP President Marja Broussard to school board members and school superintendent Irma Trosclair, relating allegations it had received that Acadiana High School had broken COVID-19 requirements to maintain players' eligibility for playoff games. Quote, it has been brought to our attention that Acadiana High School has football players that should currently be on quarantine due to direct exposure to coronavirus and or possible positive test. The information we received indicates several players were exposed to multiple COVID-19 positive individuals just before the Thanksgiving break, Broussard said in the email. Broussard requested the school system launch an investigation and said the state NAACP president would also be launching an inquiry. She said football players at Lafayette High and Caring Crow High were also being quarantined or separated from the general student population while on campus, per parent reports, and questioned whether they were acting appropriately. The NAACP president did not present evidence in the email or detail who brought the concerns forward to the organization. The school system, likewise, did not divulge specifics about how the allegation was investigated in its statement. Per Louisiana Department of Health school COVID-19 recommendations, students exposed to a COVID-19 infected person had been required to quarantine for 14 days. That rule was changed this week to 7 to 10 days. The Louisiana High School Athletic Association issued rules this fall that bar athletes from participating in sports if they've been exposed to an infected person and haven't completed their mandated quarantine period. Quote, "We regret that such an allegation has been raised. LPSS takes all reports seriously and continues to follow guidance and protocols such as contact tracing to keep all students and staff safe during this time," Dickerson's statement said. Acadiana High School football coach Matt McCullough denied the allegations in a Friday phone call with an Acadiana Advocate reporter. Quote, "It's a lie. I'm not sure where it's coming from. We have followed every protocol given to us by the Lafayette Parish School Board and the Lafayette Board of Health, totally by the book," McCullough said. The Wreckin' Rams won their playoff matchup against the East Ascension High School Spartans on Friday night to advance to the quarterfinals of the Class 5A playoffs. The Rams are the division's defending champions. In crime news today, headline, "Mother and son die in Saint Martinville fire." State Fire Marshal's office deputies are investigating a house fire in Saint Martinville that left 2 people dead. Just before 6:30 a.m. Monday, the Catahoula Volunteer Fire Department responded to a call for a house fire in the 1000 block of A. Sam Road, according to a statement from the State Fire Marshal. Firefighters later located the bodies of a man and a woman. One was located in the living room, while the other was located in a bedroom. While official indications and cause of death are pending autopsies by the Saint Martin Parish Coroner's Office, the victims are believed to be the 89-year-old homeowner and her 58-year-old son. Following an assessment of the scene, deputies determined the fire originated in one of the home's bedrooms. While the official cause of the fire remains undetermined at this time, deputies cannot rule out the possibility of an unsafe heating practice involving a space heater as a possible contributing factor. Secondary, police, man uninjured when officer opens fire. A 39-year-old man who was shot at after ramming a Crowley police officer's car Monday was not struck, state police investigators say. The suspect, Charles Camp, was involved in an incident at a retail store around 5 p.m. Monday and fled in a vehicle when law enforcement arrived. Police pursued, and Camp rammed his vehicle into several vehicles in an adjacent parking lot, including a marked police unit. State Police Troop 1 spokesperson Thomas Gosson said in a statement. After ramming the police unit, a Crowley police officer fired at Camp, but did not strike him. Camp was taken to an area hospital for evaluation and was released into the Crowley Police Department's custody, the statement said. Online booking records for the Acadia Parish Jail show Camp was booked on counts including theft, resisting an officer, reckless operation of a vehicle, and obstruction of justice. Crowley Police Chief Jimmy Broussard told KATC the incident began at Walmart Supercenter at Oddfellows and Tower Road, then ended in the Walgreens parking lot across the intersection. Broussard said it was originally believed Camp was grazed in the shoulder when the Crowley officer fired through Camp's windshield, but state police investigators determined he was not struck. State police are continuing to investigate the shooting incident. And finally, Lafayette man killed in overnight crash. A Lafayette man was killed during a 2-car crash on University Avenue on Tuesday morning. Lafayette police officers responded to the crash in the 1800 block of West University Avenue around 12:45 a.m. Tuesday. Officers determined a vehicle traveling south, driven by 46-year-old Joseph Bozier, crossed the center line and struck a vehicle traveling north, Lafayette Police spokesperson Sergeant Wayne Griffin said in a statement. Bozier was pronounced dead at the scene. The investigation into the crash is ongoing. And now for a state headline. Governor Edwards, Louisiana to use 79,000 vaccine doses in 48 hours. Governor participates in White House summit. This is written by Sam Carlin. Governor John Bel Edwards pledged Tuesday the state would administer all 79,000 doses of the first batch of vaccines in Louisiana within 48 hours of receiving them, as he expressed confidence in the state's ability to undertake the mass immunization effort starting this month. Edwards, who joined governors from Tennessee, Florida, and Texas at the White House for a vaccine summit, said he expects 39,000 doses of Pfizer's vaccine as soon as this week, depending on federal approval, followed by another 40,000 doses a week later. Quote, within 48 hours of getting the second allocation, we will have administered those vaccinations, he said. Edwards, the only Democrat on the panel, said he plans to send strike teams of National Guard troops into underserved communities, especially those with large numbers of minorities, to make sure the vaccine is distributed widely in the state. Black residents make up about a third of Louisiana's population, but 43% of COVID-19 deaths, according to state health department data. The governor's trip to the White House is one of several meetings the Democrat has had with top Trump administration officials. Last week, Admiral Brett Grior, the Trump administration testing czar, traveled to Louisiana to brief reporters on the vaccine and applaud the governor's coronavirus restrictions, which Louisiana Republicans have widely criticized. Edwards recently ramped up restrictions as Louisiana faces a third wave of the pandemic. Meanwhile, State Attorney General Jeff Landry moved to appeal a state court ruling that declared unconstitutional a petition used by House Republican lawmakers to cancel all virus restrictions. Landry is asking the state Supreme Court to reconsider the decision by the 19th Judicial District Judge William Morvant, according to court filings. Louisiana is following federal recommendations to administer the first batch of vaccines, the first from Pfizer and a second from Moderna, to hospital workers on the front lines of the pandemic and residents and staff of long-term care facilities such as nursing homes. The Louisiana Department of Health said 73,000 people who live or work in long-term care facilities will be included in the first phase of vaccine rollout, which is expected to stretch into January. That includes 25,000 nursing home residents, 30,000 nursing home staff, and people in skilled nursing facilities, adult residential care facilities, state-run veterans homes, and others. Allie Neal, a spokeswoman for the agency, said it was not yet clear how many hospital workers are included in the first phase. The first vaccines are expected to go to workers who are on the front lines of the pandemic, meaning those who work in areas where COVID-19 patients are present, though the exact definition will be left up to hospitals. Edwards said the state's vaccine collaborative has been running nonstop since June to prepare for vaccine rollout. LSU has run 2 tabletop exercises to expose gaps in the state's plan, the governor said, and the state has run distribution exercises to prepare hospitals for what to expect. The state also struck a deal with Morris & Dixon, a North Louisiana pharmaceutical distributor, to help allocate the vaccines. Pfizer's vaccine requires extremely cold temperatures, and Louisiana plans to send those doses to hospitals, which have the ability to store vaccines in super cold freezers. Moderna's vaccine is expected to largely go to long-term care facilities. Quote, states, we've been in the business of doing this for a long time too. It's not anything new. It's just at a scale we don't typically have to do it at, Edwards said. We want to promote the confidence to the people of Louisiana that this is going to be a safe and effective vaccination that they're going to want to have. Edwards' comments about the speed of immunization came in response to a query about how long it will take the governor to get 100,000 people vaccinated. Each of the other governors, Greg Abbott of Texas, Ron DeSantis of Florida, and Bill Lee of Tennessee, said they could vaccinate 100,000 people within 24 to 48 hours. Edwards said, assuming the feds are on track to approve and get Louisiana's first 79,000 doses to the state, they would be used within 2 days. Louisiana's plan for distributing the vaccine gives first priority to hospital workers and residents and staff of long-term care facilities, followed by most other medical personnel. First responders, public transit workers, pharmacists, food processing workers, and people 65 and older with health conditions. Phase 2 includes several other categories, including food distributors, K-12 school and daycare personnel, some government workers, prisoners, postal workers, and others, before the general public is set to have access in May or June. Edwards has said the priority could change. It's not set in stone, and health officials said specific plans are still in flux. The White House event came as media outlets reported that the Trump administration months ago opted not to lock in the chance to buy millions of additional doses of Pfizer's vaccine, which could delay the delivery of more doses in America until Pfizer fulfills contracts in other countries. And our next headline: lawmakers to allow rule change for nursing homes. Panels don't plan to hold hearing on fund increase. Chairs of both the House and Senate healthcare oversight committees said that they don't plan to hold a hearing on the new rule that nursing homes wanted, but that advocates for seniors call a grab for dollars. Without a hearing before Thursday, the new rule automatically goes into effect on December 20th. The rule adjusts a part of the complex formula used to determine how much of each of the 260 or so nursing homes operators are paid. By increasing the square footage allowed for many nursing home rooms from 450 square feet to 550 square feet, the operators will receive about $6 million more each year. Nursing homes already receive about $1.2 billion annually from state and federal sources. Opponents argue that the money would be better spent providing seniors with services that would allow them to stay at home, as most states do, rather than leaving institutionalization as the primary choice for care. Louisiana House Health and Welfare Committee Chairman Larry Bagley, a Republican of Stonewall, said Tuesday he received a lot of correspondence opposing the proposed changes. But in the end, he said he felt that nursing homes had been pressed by lawmakers to provide more and larger single rooms for their charges, particularly given the need for social distancing during the pandemic. Quote, if we don't use that rule, that money, the $6 million extra, isn't necessarily going to be spent on community care, Bagley said. I don't have any intention of having a hearing Thursday. Neither is State Senator Fred Mills, the Brobridge Republican who chairs the Senate Health and Welfare Committee. Quote, from the policy standpoint, I'm okay. I can see the opponent's standpoint and I understand the money issues. But the policy has been for years to increase the square footage, Mills said. I thought the explanation from the nursing home standpoint made sense. The Louisiana Nursing Home Association, which requested the rule change, argued to the Louisiana Department of Health that the new reimbursement rate would update a 19-year-old formula to better represent the realities of 2020 and would promote more operators to renovate their facilities for more single occupancy rooms. Usually, proposed regulations are handled within an agency and move throughout the process without attracting the attention of anyone but those directly involved. This rule change has attracted the ire of advocates, including Volunteers of America, which is seeking more state funding for services to allow the elderly to stay at home rather than to go to nursing homes. Disability Rights of Louisiana told the health department that it was, quote, concerned that putting more money in nursing homes is taking the state in the wrong direction. The Louisiana Budget Project voiced concern, quote, that this rule has to do with the broader fiscal crisis that the state is facing. AARP Louisiana Executive Director Denise Botcher wrote House Speaker Clay Schexnayder on Friday, asking for his help in scheduling a hearing on the rule. Quote, we believe it is short-sighted to allocate the state's limited resources to provide for nursing homes, which will only make the cuts that fall on other critical services more severe, Botcher said. She added that more than 11,000 people are waiting for an opportunity to receive long-term support and services at home, rather than in a facility. Quote, $5 million, the same amount nursing homes would receive under this rule, would help 200 people. It would seem to be more appropriate to spend that money on serving people rather than paying for square footage, Botcher wrote Schexnayder. Quote, this issue deserves a public discussion to determine if this is the best use of tax dollars, Andrew Moll, Director of Advocacy for AARP Louisiana, said Tuesday, when informed the legislator would not hold hearings and would allow the new rule to go into effect. Requests for mosquito control now available through Lafayette 311. The Lafayette Consolidated Government is increasing mosquito abatement efforts in the parish. An increase in mosquito activity is a common occurrence following a storm event. Citizens noticing an influx in mosquitoes in their area can now use the Lafayette 311 portal to request service. All submitted requests are routed directly to Mosquito Control Services, the mosquito control contractor for the parish. The United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources for households that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United program airs weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC 2, which is Cox 16 or LUS 4, and streaming at aocinc.org/watch. That's aocinc.org/watch. And you can see the daily schedules and submit content for the program. You can also visit the United Way of Acadiana's website, which is the United Way of Acadiana, all one word, unitedwayofacadiana.org/learn-united. And finally, if you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and anxiety about the uncertainties surrounding this public health emergency, there's a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support and who can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors are available 24/7. All calls are confidential. Please call 1-866-310-7977. One more time, that is 1-866-310-7977. We're going to take a small break from the local and state headlines to look at a few things. First is going to be our funerals for today in the Acadiana area. The first is for Minos DeJorn Jr., the service being held at Our Lady of Perpetual Help at 2 p.m. Rosalind Stockstill, service being held at the Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist Catholic Church in Lafayette at 10 a.m. And our final funeral for today is Charles Ward, with a service being held at St. Lawrence Catholic Church at 1 p.m. Now we're going to look at Today in History, brought to us by the Associated Press. Today is Wednesday, December the 9th. It is the 344th day of 2020. There are 22 days left in the year. Today's highlight in history. On December 9th, 2000, the U.S. Supreme Court ordered a temporary halt in the Florida vote count on which Al Gore pinned his best hopes of winning the White House. Also on this date, in 1854, Alfred Lord Tennyson's famous poem, The Charge of the Light Brigade, was published in England. In 1911, an explosion inside the Cross Mountain coal mine near Briceville, Tennessee killed 84 workers. 5 were rescued. In 1940, British troops opened their first major offensive in North Africa during World War II. In 1962, the Petrified Forest in Arizona was designated a national park. In 1987, the first Palestinian Intifad, or uprising, began as riots broke out in Gaza and spread to the West Bank, triggering a strong Israeli response. In 1992, Britain's Prince Charles and Princess Diana announced their separation. The couple's divorce became final in August of 1996. In 2001, the United States disclosed the existence of a videotape in which Osama bin Laden said he was pleasantly surprised by the extent of damage from the September 11th terrorist attacks. In 2013, scientists revealed that NASA's Curiosity rover had uncovered signs of an ancient freshwater lake on Mars. In 2014, U.S. Senate investigations concluded the United States had brutalized scores of terror suspects with interrogation tactics that turned secret CIA prisons into chambers of suffering and did nothing to make Americans safer after the September 11, 2001 attacks. 10 years ago today, in Britain's worst political violence in years, student protesters rained sticks and rocks on riot police, vandalized government buildings, and attacked a car carrying Prince Charles and his wife Camilla after lawmakers approved a controversial hike in university tuition fees. 5 years ago today, Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel apologized for the 2014 police shooting of a black teenager during a special city council meeting that he called to discuss a police abuse scandal at the center of the biggest crisis of his administration, and promised complete and total reform to restore trust in the police. And 1 year ago today, at a hearing by the House Judicial Committee, Democrats outlined the impeachment case against President Donald Trump by saying his push to get Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden while withholding U.S. military aid ran counter to U.S. policy and benefited Russia as well as himself. Some birthdays for today. Actor Dame Judi Dench has turned 86. Football Hall of Famer Dick Butkus has turned 78. Former Senator Thomas Daschle is 73. World Golf Hall of Famer Tom Kite is 71. Actor Michael Dorn is 68. Actor John Malkovich is 67. Country singer Sylvia is 64. Singer Donny Osmond turned 63. Comedian Mario Cantone has turned 61. Actor David Anthony Higgins is 59. Actor Felicity Huffman is 58. Empress Masako of Japan is 57. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of New York is 54. Rock musician Brian Bell of the band Weezer has turned 52. TV personality, business person Lori Grainer of TV Shark Tank has turned 51. Songwriter and former American Idol judge Cara Diagardi is 50. Rock musician Trey Cool of the band Green Day has turned 48. Actor Kevin Daniels is 44. And actor Jess Metcalf is 42. With that, we'll take a look at today's horoscopes. Excuse me. For Sagittarius, which is birthdays between November 23rd and December 21st. How you go about your business will set the stage for future endeavors. Speak up and share your thoughts, opinions, and plans. Take control instead of letting someone else run the show. For Capricorn, which is birthdays from December 22nd to January 19th. Getting your facts straight before you debate an issue will make you think twice about the information you share. Be selective, diplomatic, and kind. For Aquarius, which is birthdays between January 20th and February 19th. Avoid situations that deal with institutions. Stick to the tasks that require your attention. A financial gain will lift your spirits. An offer will be too good to refuse. For Pisces, which is birthdays February 20th to March 20th. Expect someone to take advantage of you. If you don't stand up for your rights, work with the people you're dealing with and find common ground to overcome any unfairness that prevails. For the Aries, which is birthdays of March 21st through April 19th. Channel your energy into something constructive. Refuse to let uncertainty cause you to miss out on something that can push you to the top of your game. Work along someone who shares your dream. For Taurus, which is birthdays of April 20th through May 20th. Examine documents, make updates, and create a dialogue with someone you live or work with to ensure your intentions are clear and the outcome is doable. Don't let uncertainty set in. For our Geminis, which is birthdays of May 21st through June 20th. Focus on partnerships and how to make the most of a situation that requires emotional adjustments. Handle discrepancies carefully, and you'll avoid a misunderstanding. For Cancer, which is June 21st to July 22nd, look for alternative ways to get things done. Keeping the peace will encourage better relationships with those close to you. Expectations will be high, and payback expected if you ask for help. For Leo, which is July 23rd through August 22nd, be observant. Protect yourself from persuasive individuals trying to take advantage of your generosity. Offer suggestions and a helping hand, but don't pay for others' mistakes. To Virgo, which is August 23rd to September 22nd birthdays, don't expect to get the whole truth from someone close to you. Go directly to the source to verify facts. Set the pace and protect your rights. For Libras, which is birthdays of September 23rd to October 23rd. Expect someone to interfere with or upset your schedule. Being evasive will not help you gain support. Reach out to those who share your beliefs. Rely on experience to guide you to victory. And our final horoscope, which is Scorpio, for birthdays of October 24th to November 22nd. Make a personal change that will lead to more significant opportunities. Consider a lifestyle that will ease stress and encourage personal growth. Romance is favored. And with that, we're going to jump back into a couple more headlines from around the state before looking into sports today. And we'll start here. Harrah's Casino to rebrand as Caesars New Orleans. Casino Hotel starts $325 million upgrade. This is brought to us by Anthony McCauley. Harrah's New Orleans is being rebranded as Caesars New Orleans as it starts a $325 million renovation project that will add a new 340-room hotel tower by 2024. Harrah's parent company, Caesars Entertainment, said Tuesday that as well as the hotel tower, the casino will get a new velvet porte cochere at the entrance at the intersection of Canal Street and Convention Center Boulevard. This will also be new food and hospitality offerings in the casino building and some unspecified development of the unoccupied second floor area of the casino. Caesars has previously said it wants to be able to offer additional entertainment options apart from gambling. The Fillmore New Orleans, a 2,200 capacity music venue that is part of the Harrah's Casino building, has remained closed since the start of the coronavirus pandemic in March. The Las Vegas-based parent company said detailed plans for the renovation, which was approved last year as part of the Louisiana legislators' extension of Caesars' license to operate the casino through 2054, were being presented to the New Orleans Building Corporation on Tuesday as part of the approval process. The Caesars project gets underway as the $530 million conversion of the Old World Trade Center into an upscale Four Seasons hotel and condominium complex directly across the street on Mississippi Street end of Canal is near completion. Caesars said its project will create 600 construction jobs, and the casino group is committed to adding 500 new full-time jobs from 2024 when its renewed 30-year license commences. Quote, "We are excited that this expansion will mean hundreds of construction jobs during the project and hundreds more in sustainable and new jobs post-construction," Mayor LaToya Cantrell was quoted saying in Caesars' statement announcing the start of the project. Caesars had argued during its license application that it needed to add the new 340-room tower to its 450-room hotel because of the expenses of paying for complimentary rooms for high roller patrons at other city hotels each year because of lack of room availability at its hotel. Part of Caesars' pledge on the license extension deal was that it would continue to employ at least 2,400 people and add 500 staff after the hotel was built. It also committed to pay for various state and city infrastructure projects, including $19.5 million over 3 years to New Orleans. Still, Caesars is one of the biggest beneficiaries of a decision by Orleans Parish Assessor's Office to cut property valuations for 2021, and thus cut property taxes for businesses in the area because of the unprecedented effect of coronavirus pandemic this year. Hotels saw the highest valuation cuts at about 58%, which translated into a savings for Caesars/Harrah's of an estimated $1.5 million to $2 million. Samir Mawad, the New Orleans native who took over as general manager of Harrah's in September, said there will be further announcements in coming months about other features of the upgrade, pending approval by Louisiana Gaming Control Board and city planning authorities. Quote, "What was shared today is only the beginning of a transformation that will bring new energy, excitement, and fun to New Orleans," he said. Caesars became the largest gambling group in the country in July when it was taken over by Eldorado Resorts, which retained the name of the more familiar acquisition target. The $17.3 billion takeover process took a year and included an order by federal regulators that the combined group sell several casinos, including the Eldorado Casino Resort in Shreveport. In addition to Harrah's New Orleans, The only land-based casino in Louisiana, Caesars now owns 4 floating casinos: the Belle of Baton Rouge, Isle of Capri Casino Hotel in Lake Charles, Harrah's Louisiana Downs in Bossier City, and Horseshoe Bossier City. Gambling has been among the industries hardest hit by the pandemic, with casinos and related hotels furloughing or laying off thousands of workers. Caesars Louisiana has issued worker adjustment and retaining notifications for 2 of its Louisiana operations, Harrah's Louisiana Downs and Horseshoe Bossier City, warning that almost 1,200 furloughed workers might be permanently laid off. However, it has not done so to the New Orleans casino. In our next headline, fate of New Orleans empire in doubt. Family at odds over massive estate. This is by John Simmerman. When Ray Brandt died inside his Old Metairie mansion last year from pancreatic cancer, the 72-year-old left behind an auto dealership empire as the centerpiece of an estate his lawyer valued at more than $300 million. But the fate of that empire remains in limbo more than a year later, amid a family rift that is playing out in local courthouses and on the front lawn of Brandt's house. Lately, for sale signs have popped up, only to be yanked out by the relatives who still live there. The dispute spilled into a Jefferson Parish courtroom last week, and a challenge to the validity of the will that Brandt wrote weeks before his death on the grounds that it was improperly notarized. The push to toss it based on a technical flaw marks the latest salvo in a legal war pitting his widow, Jessica Fusel Brandt, against her 2 adult grandchildren. At stake in control of the Ray Brandt Auto Group, which started in 1983 with a Datsun dealership on the West Bank, it's grown to employ about 800 people across 2 states. Jessica Brandt is now CEO. Other assets that hang in the balance include Pascal Manali, the century-old Creole Italian restaurant on Napoleon Avenue that Ray Brandt bought days before he died on November 14, 2019, 6 weeks after his diagnosis. Allegations and subpoenas are flying, along with tempers among members of family clan once so tight that they lived together for years, 3 generations in the same 10,000 square foot house backing up into Metairie Country Club. Jessica Brandt acknowledged the family row in a statement. Quote, "I love my family very much," she said. "I'm distressed by the unfortunate circumstances that have developed over the future of our dealerships, our employees, and our loyal customers." Ray Brandt, who had no children of his own, named his step-grandchildren, Zachary and Alexis Hartland, as the 50-50 beneficiaries of the Ray John Brandt Revocable Trust. He also directed in his will that the trust receive my entire estate after his death. Ray Brandt had set up the trust so that Jessica Brandt, his wife of 9 years, would receive a hefty income for life from all the cash produced by the family businesses, which included 14 dealerships, 6 collision centers, and other holdings in Louisiana and Mississippi, documents show. The assets, however, are the grandchildren's to split once she dies, or when the youngest turns 30, in about 10 years, if she dies before then, the documents show. Who controls the dealership while Jessica Brandt is alive, with the power to manage or even sell them, is at the heart of the dispute that spawned from changes Ray Brandt made to his succession plan after his grim diagnosis, records show. Ray Brandt, who legally adopted his step-grandchildren a month before he died, amended the trust to remove Jessica Brandt from control over it. In her place, he installed Mark Milano, principal at Archbishop Rummel High School, as a trustee. Ray Brandt also wrote up a new will that included a no-contest clause. Anyone who challenges the will risks being cut out, quote, to the maximum extent allowable under applicable law. Under his new plan, Jessica Brandt would remain in place as the executor, but she no longer stood to control the assets of Ray Brandt's estate once they transferred to the trust. Court records show that Milano has been pressing over the past several months to funnel those assets into the trust, but claims he's been repeatedly stymied by Jessica Brandt. In a lawsuit filed November 20th in Orleans Parish Civil District Court, Milano accuses the Chafee McCall law firm and attorney E. Howell Crosby, who made up Ray Brandt's will, of helping Jessica Brandt stall the transfer of assets into the trust while siphoning money from the estate. The lawsuit alleges that she has refused for months to turn over estate financial and business records. Milano also claims Jessica Brandt cashed a check for more than $900,000 that was made out to her husband months after his death. Jessica Brandt also fired 2 accountants that Milano has enlisted to review the financial records of her husband's estate. Milano also accused Jessica Brandt of trying to claim stakes in the dealership through operating agreements written up months after Ray Brandt's death. He alleges that she did it to improperly divert succession assets, namely Mr. Brandt's dealership interest, out of the estate and the trust to Mrs. Brandt. Jessica Brandt and her attorneys denied the allegations and took money from her husband's estate while arguing in a statement that Ray Brandt never meant to remove her as a trustee. They blamed bad legal advice. Quote, Jessica Brandt does not believe that her husband intended to remove her as a trustee and insert Mark Milano. She believes that her husband intended to keep her as a trustee and insert Mark Milano as quote-unquote family advisor, the statement read. Such advisors are often enlisted to guide families through the process, but hold no formal power. Jessica Brandt and her attorneys said that the money she is accused of stealing, in the form of a check to her deceased husband, was a dividend payment from one of his companies and is now in a succession account. Quote, the allegations that Jessica Brandt improperly diverted these funds for her own account is not only completely false, but intentionally misleading, the statement read. Jessica Brandt also said the operating agreements she created after her husband's death were done to divert assets, were not done to divert assets, but to transition the businesses. But the statements also said those agreements would be further amended upon the closing of Ray Brandt's estate to reflect the proper ownership interest at that time. The dispute reached the Jefferson Parish Courthouse last week as 24th Judicial District Judge Lee Faulkner began to entertain a legal challenge to Ray Brandt's 2019 will, a move that, if successful, could allow Jessica Brandt to maintain control. Jessica Brandt isn't the one challenging the will, however. The petition to annul it was filed by Todd Dempster, Chief Operating Officer of Ray Brandt Auto Group. Lawyers for Milano, who have petitioned the court to force the transfer of Ray Brandt's assets into the trust, argue that Dempster can't legally challenge the will because he lacks standing. He isn't a beneficiary, relative, or descendant. Faulkner seemed to agree, though he has yet to issue a written ruling. If he throws out the will that Ray Brandt drew up on his deathbed, Faulkner will decide if either of 2 other wills that Brandt kept from 2010 and 2015 should apply. However it ends, Jessica Brandt insists that the auto group and dealerships are not for sale, and that her plan is to keep the family business, quote, in operation for the benefit of its approximately 800 employees and of loyal customers. She said Ray Brandt, quote, wanted his business to grow in the spirit of service. I pledged to him and my family that we would continue our business to do just that. The family's old Metairie compound is, however, on the market, she acknowledged, because, quote, it is a non-income asset with significant operating cost, the statement read. The asking price for the mansion is $6 million. Now just in between, before we head to sports to end our day. Medicaid is now covering coronavirus testing for Louisiana residents without insurance. This coverage is available to people without insurance who are Louisiana residents until the end of the federal public health emergency. You must also be a U.S. citizen or meet immigration status requirements to qualify. If you need to find a doctor near you doing testing, dial 211. If you have questions, call us at 1-888-544-7996, 1-888-544-7996. You can apply for coverage in the doctor's office so that you do not have to pay for testing. When you go to get tested, the provider may ask you to apply for Medicaid. They will help you fill out the simple form. You can get the application at www.healthy.la.gov, a provider, or you can submit the paper application by email, fax, or mail. You can also call 1-888-544-7996 to apply over the phone. You can send your completed paper by email to coviduninsured@la.gov. Or Fax to 1-886-852-0415 or mailed to COVID Uninsured Applications, P.O. Box 64808, Baton Rouge, LA. That's 70806. You only have to fill out this form once, even if you need multiple coronavirus tests. Coverage begins 3 months before application date and will stay in place through the end of coronavirus. At the end of the coronavirus COVID-19 event. And now we'll look into sports. Only a couple of headlines today. Our first, the LHSAA announces Prep Classic venue change. Football championships moving from New Orleans to Natchitoches. This is by Robin Frambois. A Zoom meeting morphed into a moving day. The LHSAA's executive committee took the recommendation of executive director Eddie Bonin and voted to move its Prep Classic football championships from New Orleans to Natchitoches. Instead of being a 3-day event with 9 non-select and select games at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, the LHSAA's biggest event will be played over 4 days from December 27th to December 30th at Northwestern State's 15,500 State Turpin Stadium. A schedule of games and additional information about the event will be released in the days ahead. Quote, "The last stone needed to be turned was where we would play the championships," Bonin said. "It boiled down to how many people are we going to be allowed to have at the facility. We were not able to get an answer on the Superdome last week, and today there's still not an answer. At the end of the day, waiting to see what happened was not going to work for me because if we were limited to 3,000 or 1,000 or 750 fans, we now have something that is etched in stone. We have a site. I believe we have decided we'll give the athletes a championship feeling." Bonin noted that the two venues are markedly different and said in a press statement that the LHSSA looks forward to a return to the Superdome in 2021. Quote, "I'm a dome guy and it makes my gut hurt to know we can't give football teams the experience," Bonin said, "but I felt as though it was more important to ensure that we were going to get a championship in front of fans." A combination of financial considerations and uncertainty regarding the COVID-19 status of New Orleans later in the month regarding the COVID-19 status played a major role in the move. A Monday statement by New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell about possibly adding COVID restrictions based on infection rate also was noted by the committee, according to Bonin. Though Natchitoches is part of Shreveport's Region 7, which is considered a COVID-19 hot zone, Bonin said that the positivity rate in Natchitoches is lower, which allows for approximately 4,250 tickets per game at a 25% occupancy rate. Bonin said to add revenue from those ticket sales would make it easier for the LHSSA to pay bills, including travel guarantees for teams. The first discussions with Northwestern officials about the school being an alternative Prep Classic site was held during the LHSSA cross-country meet last month, according to Bonin. He said he also met with LSU officials about Tiger Stadium being a host site, but said concerns about weather issues coupled with 9 games on natural turf surface made Turpin's artificial turf more desirable. It will mark the second time in 39-year history that the Prep Classic is played at a site other than the Superdome. In 2005, it was held in Shreveport's Independence Stadium because Hurricane Katrina's damage made it impossible to play in the Superdome. Bonin said he and members of the staff will travel to Natchitoches on Thursday to meet and finalize some details. Quote, "How many games are you going to play in a day?" "That's under construction," Bonin said. "We want to see who's going to be there and travel distances." Quote, "We take a lot of different things into consideration, but everyone's going to want to spend the night because of COVID. There are a lot of extenuating circumstances this year." Bonin said the Prep Classic game will not be broadcast live, but said there will be live streaming and tape-delayed opportunities to watch. He listed noon and 4 p.m. as potential game times on days when 2 games are held, and 11 a.m., 3:30 p.m., and 7 p.m. as possible times on a day where 3 games are played. And finally, our last sports headline, and our last headline of the day. Ogeron. Gilbert considers opting out for rest of season. LSU coach says he'd welcome tight end back. This is brought to us by Brooks Cabina. LSU coach Ed Ogeron said in a radio interview Tuesday morning that star tight end Eric Gilbert talked to him Monday and said he's thinking about opting out for the rest of the season. Ogerall revealed more details on WNXX FM 104.5 about Gilbert's situation after news broke Monday night that the true freshman was considering leaving the team. Multiple sources confirmed Gilbert missing practice Monday, and 24/7 Sports first reported Gilbert is, quote, really, really homesick. His role in the offense is also a factor, sources said. Ogerall said that Gilbert's, quote, body is hurting, and he is not sure if Gilbert has made an official announcement yet. His mother is in town speaking with him right now, Ogerall said. I don't know if they've officially announced it yet, but where we've been at, and that's where we've discussed. If Gilbert indeed opts out, Ogerall said he would certainly welcome him back to the team if he decides to return. Ogerall pointed out that defensive tackle Neil Farrell returned after he initially opted out in the preseason. Quote, I think that if he opts out and wants to come back, definitely I'm going to take him back, Ogerall said. He's a great player and a great young man. I recruited him and we treat him like family just like everyone else. Gilbert would be a substantial loss for LSU and its future within the offense. The 6'5", 249-pound freshman was the prize recruit of the 2020 class, the nation's Gatorade Player of the Year, and the highest-rated tight end in the history of 24/7 Sports. In 8 games, Gilbert is LSU's second leading receiver with 35 catches, 368 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He has not scored since catching 6 passes for 97 yards and a touchdown against Missouri, and Ogerall has frequently said publicly that Gilbert should get more touches. Ogerall has a major negotiation project on his hands. The number of available scholarship players on LSU's roster has already been substantially hit by opt-outs, including Chase. LSU also lost key starters in nickel safety Kerry Vincent and defensive tackle Tyler Shelvin. Questions about the state of the locker room have risen since star wide receiver Terrence Marshall opted out of the rest of the season following LSU's 20-7 loss at Texas A&M. Asking Tuesday morning if LSU's locker room is falling apart or if there's a disconnect between the coaching staff's message and the players, Ogerall said, quote, no, not at all. I don't hear none of that, Ogerall said. We work in a cocoon here. I think that everything is fine. Obviously, we're disappointed that the way we've played, disappointed in our record, but as far as the message from our staff to players, I think we're fine. A year ago, LSU had beaten Georgia in the Southeastern Conference Championship. Now, with 2 games left in the regular season, the Tigers, 3-5, are veering towards their first losing record since 1999. LSU plays at number 6 Florida at 6 p.m. Saturday, and then is scheduled to finish the season against Ole Miss on December 19th at home. Quote, here's what I'll tell you, Ogerall said. A year ago, we were the best team in the country. We're going to find out who's really behind us. We're going to find out who really loves the Tigers, because we will be champions again. So wherever you're getting that, I'm not buying. And that's all of our headlines for today. I thank you for listening in, and please join us again tomorrow. Have a great day, Acadiana.